There we go.
The first book is basically about Thérèse trying to poison her husband.
Okay.
He's not great, but he also isn't bad enough to kill. They just don't get along that well, I guess, or love each other particularly. He doesn't like beat her or anything, you know.
Is he stealing her things and selling them to his mistress?
I don't think so.
Giving them to his mistress and selling them.
So she's like, cool, I have to...
Brother Minacme reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's poisoning him slowly. We actually open with a court case where, to avoid scandal, he testifies in her favour that nothing ever happened because he doesn't want a scandal in the family. And they then separate. And he's like, Alfred has removed his sunglasses in a cheeky fashion. So they separate, and they live apart. But that's basically the entirety of the first story. Like, it is literally just, she tries to poison him. We see that there's been a court case, and they separate. For a while, they pretend to be together, and he makes her go to church with him once a week. And at some point, he's like, "Okay, I think everyone basically knows we're not together anymore. Just stop coming to church. In fact, just leave. We're not going to see each other anymore at all." It's like, "Okay, cool." But they have a daughter, Marie, and she's like, "I'm not really interested in this child. You can take her away as well. I don't really feel like a mother." And people are like, "Oh, the baby looks so much like you." And she's like, "I know, I look different actually, technically. Like, she really wants nothing to do with the child."
Yeah, we're nothing alike in a way.
Yeah, she basically says that. And whatever, like, "Oh, but look, she's like, whatever, like, fair hair, brown hair at that age, actually. Like, just no interest in the baby at all." Like, and that's kind of sad, but whatever. That is more or less like the entire first book. It's very difficult to say much about it. It was fine, but I kind of find it boring. It really has like one thing that happens in it. Like she's trying to poison her husband. That's the entire book. So the reason it's going down, because it's kind of a neutral one, is because it's then followed by two short stories. One where she goes to see the doctor, and one where they're in a hotel. And really nothing happened in them. It's just like, here's some stuff. I was like, I went to the doctor. The doctor thought I was crazy. Okay, next. Now I'm in a hotel. Like, there's like 15 pages each. Nothing happens in them. They're irrelevant. So those coupled with the first book that was kind of not that great, I'm like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm going to review that separately and put it down the gutter. But now the sequel, The End of the Night, was fantastic.
Okay.
So it is definitely the best part of the whole thing, and definitely has to get a yay. It even gets the gavel.
Were you worried when you got to that part of the book? It's like,
yes,
this is all going down the gutter.
I really thought it was. I was expecting this to not be good. We open with an unexpected turn. Her daughter comes to find her. This is years later now.
Okay.
Her daughter comes to find her, and she's like, "Hello, mother. You abandoned me at birth. I want to get to know you and make it up a little bit. And there's a gentleman friend that I like, and all this kind of stuff." So they try to like have a conversation and build a little bit of a relationship. The mother's living in like a dingy premises with a maid, and that's basically it.
With a maid.
Well, she's
a maid. That's terrible.
That she's suspicious of, and the maid is her only company, and she's sad and lonely. And she's like,
just like White Nights with Dostoevsky. He just has the one maid.
She'll even say to the maid, like, "Can you just bring your knitting in here and sit with me for half an hour while I fall asleep, because no one likes me," basically. And it's really sad,
Aww.
But she's also not a good person because she tried to poison her husband.
But by this point in the book, we forgot about that.
We have forgotten about that. So Marie comes in and does not know why her mother left her. She's just like, "Oh, I assumed that you didn't get along well with Papa, so that's fine. He's actually kind of an ass. I hate him, so like that's cool. I'm on your side." And the mom's like, "Right. I do need to tell you, though, that I might have poisoned someone." And she's like, "Oh, was it that old aunt that I hate?" I was like, "Oh, no. It wasn't Papa, was it?" It's like, "Oh, it was." So she's like, well, I made a mistake coming here. We can't be friends. And she leaves. And then she comes back the next day. She's like, "You know what? I'm sorry. I think you're actually fine. Like,
okay.
It's all right that you tried to kill my dad. Let's still build a relationship."
I mean, I wouldn't think less of people trying to poison my father, so...
The dad doesn't come... You should. The dad doesn't come across like a good guy.
Lobotomy.
But he also doesn't come across like, let's murder this guy, Like, he's not loving, but he's not terrible either, you know? But she's like, well, we're gonna try to poison him. So the girl, of course, is gonna marry this chap that she likes. And she's like, right, okay. There might be a problem because his family are higher station than us. They don't want him to marry the daughter of a poisoner.
So everyone knows now.
It seems like everyone knows. So that's the issue. So she meets the son and everything. She's like, well, I'll go talk to him. I'll tell him to marry you. Then it gets kind of weird. So far from having a reservation, the mum and the man then fall in love.
Oh, okay.
And then she's like, I really love this man. He is engaged to my daughter. She's like, I barely know my daughter. I screw her. So it's really terrible. And she forms like a really strong chemical bond with the guy. Possibly also tries to get off with his friend as well at one point.
Okay, so another Mollflander story.
Yeah. Then the son is like, I'm obsessed with you. Actually, I don't really care about your daughter at all.
Oh.
And she's like, right, but you still need to marry my daughter. Because that will make her happy. And there's bits that I don't like. Bad guy Moriak. At least twice he says things like, men need a lot of like complicated pleasures in life, and all a woman really needs is the presence of a man that she loves, even if he mistreats her. It's like, well, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Glad he wasn't a philosopher.
Yeah. So they're just like, if she marries
Never
him...
even heard of this guy before.
No. It's like, did Carla recommend this to us in the bookshop, I think, the time we went together?
Maybe.
But it's just like, well, I think that you should marry her, and it's okay if you mistreat her, and it's also okay if you've cheated on her and everything, because she will be near someone that she loves, so it's fine. So I really don't like that.
Of course.
Because the mum is also fancying the son-in-law, which is weird. And his friend. So, then they think he's killed himself at one point, but he doesn't, so Thérèse takes credit for having saved him, although she doesn't do anything. Then it gets just weird stuff happening.
This is just the Life of Brian thing, right? Just the guy saying, I haven't talked for 20 years, they healed him! They healed him!
Kind of. Everyone gets really melodramatic. It gets so, You ever see that last episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion, where it's all, in their minds, the way it's taking place?
I couldn't get past episode 2.
It kind of becomes like that. It's a lot of, just their emotions and their mental and their talking and how strong these bonds... Without any real plot happening near the end, Just a lot of, drama and melodrama from their interactions and their feelings and everything. It's a bit...
Couldn't deal with Shinji. He was a terrible main character.
Fair enough.
For me.
But I don't like things like this. She will have the one thing without which her life would cease to mean anything at all. George's presence. Even though he may cause her abominable torments.
Okay.
Women, when they have been left forlorn, always remember with delight the pain that they have suffered. This is really, really bad. I hate it so much.
But this is what you have to live by, Dean.
Yeah. This is really gross.
You don't just listen to men... to learn what women want?
Yeah, right?
I don't get it.
Then what happens is Thérèse goes crazy and gets really sick and becomes really paranoid and thinks that everyone's out to get her. So she thinks her daughter's in on the plot, she thinks her maid's in on the plot. The maid brings a guy back just to shag, and she's like, you've brought the police here to come and get me, and you're in on it, and everyone's in on it, they're all trying to get me, and she just goes really worried and really paranoid. There are two really beautiful poetic moments. The fake one and the real one. So, seen from the first book, she's standing over the husband as she's poisoning him, hoping that he'll die. She thinks that that's happening to her because she sees her daughter standing over her, giving her medicine, and thinks her daughter's poisoning her. But she's not. The daughter is a good person. Then, when she gets so sick, she goes back to the house of the original husband. And they never really make up exactly, but he's just kind of neutral with her. Which is probably realistic. She's dying. She's like, okay, I guess we'll tend to her, but she's still trying to kill me, so, So then he watches over her while she dies. And that's she doesn't die at the end of the book, but she's getting close. It kind of finishes without her actually dying. But that's the real symmetry. She thought she would watch him die, and it's actually the other way around. The daughter was like a red herring almost, So it's nice to get that poetry, but it's just weird to have these like long sections of the guy's like, I can't live without her. He doesn't really even know her. He's like, I've seen her 3 times, but I knew she was an important person. I can't imagine the world without her, and all this weird stuff. I'm like, she's lived in like this flat for 10 years and barely spoken to anyone. She's done nothing. Her impact in the world is nothing. It's really strange that you would say these things. That's it.
Okay. People just fell in love with her for no real reason, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, you did cheat, though, because this is a continuation of the original story. It's not a sequel. So you have to put these together in your mind and think of it all as one story. Does it go down the gutter?
I did think about this. I think it goes.
Still
it gets a yeah. Because
Okay.
the first one wasn't bad. By comparison to this, it was boring. And I kind of read it not really liking it. But it was all right. The 2 short stories kind of brought it down a little bit. But this was so good that
it would definitely
overall
bring it
it
up.
has to go. It has to be a yeah.
Fair. Okay.
And even maybe for the time as well, like the story of the woman poisoning her husband might have been really interesting and new as well. It's in like every Agatha Christie now, but it might have been interesting at the time.
Fair enough. And that brings us to the end of the episode.
That's it. Delete my notes. Book done. That's the last book.